Hi guys, my name is Dan Reimold. I'm a journalism professor, student media advisor, author, reporter, and former journalism student who writes a ton about the student press and journalism education for my blog College Media Matters at collegemediamatters.com. With this video series, I'm simply aiming to offer some quick hit insider tips for prospective college students who are considering majoring in journalism or becoming a journalism student, and also, of course, for their families and supporters who are helping them through the process. This particular video is a follow-up to part one of the big school versus small school debate. It's one of the most common questions I get. What are the advantages and disadvantages of going to a big or small school in general and studying journalism, or attending a big-time or smaller journalism program specifically? In the previous video, I talked about the benefits and some things to think about when attending a bigger journalism program or a journalism program at a bigger school. This time around, I wanted to talk about the small school or small program. You know, the main buzzwords I would offer as benefits to attending a smaller journalism program or a journalism program at a smaller school would be personal attention and leadership opportunities. In respect to personal attention, it's simply playing the numbers. At a smaller school or within a smaller program, there are fewer students. You know, if you are good and you are passionate, it will come to professors' attention very early in your collegiate career. And these individuals will most likely have a bit more time and fewer outside distractions to be able to give you mentoring and, in a formal and informal sense, in and out of the classroom, a real kinship to be able to hopefully give you the connections and knowledge base you need to kick butt in journalism. Does it also happen in a big program and at a bigger school? Absolutely. But going by sheer numbers, it is more likely that you will get that attention within a smaller program or at a smaller school. You know, I've taught and also was a student in both those types of situations, both the big school and the small school. And it's just much more likely in the small school setting for the professors to know all of the students' names and to really know things about them, and thus to be able to help them on a personalized level as much as possible achieve their journalism aspirations. In respect to leadership opportunity, I do think that in a smaller school or within a smaller journalism program, you just have a much greater chance of being able to serve as the head, the director, the editor of a student media outlet, of a news service, of a major class project. You know, something that where at a larger school you'd have a lot more competition and you may just never even get the opportunity. You know, with the small liberal arts school that I attended during my time as an undergrad, I was running the student newspaper as editor-in-chief by my sophomore year. It's both good and bad, because in some ways when I look back on it, I'm not sure I was ready yet. I'm not sure students are ever ready for that level of responsibility. But the other side of it, it taught me things that I would have never been able to learn inside the classroom, and in many ways matured me, and is still one of the collegiate experiences that I look back on most fondly and as most life and profession impacting. If I'd gone to a bigger school, would I have gotten that opportunity possibly to run a top-notch student newspaper? Sure, but it most likely would have come senior year versus sophomore year. And I'm just not sure how that might have changed things, but I do know that I liked getting the leadership experience as soon as possible and building from there for my final 2 years in school. Just something to think about. You know, I would also say the X factor with all this is that we must admit it is easier than ever to practice and learn various facets of journalism and new media outside of the classroom. It's not that schools or programs of any size or quality are irrelevant. I do think it matters where you go and what you study. But if you truly have a passion and a drive for a certain area of journalism that maybe a smaller school or program does not offer, there is more of a probability that you can tackle it on your own through either independent research, outside internship or work opportunities, or simply doing the right amount of Googling and YouTube video watching, and thus mastering that area on your own, tuition-free, so to speak, and taking advantage then subsequently of all that your program has to offer. And I do think in this age that somewhat mitigates the big school, small school divide. I offer that as one more thing to think about. It's definitely, obviously, not a full supplanting of what a big school or program might be able to offer you. Now, there are a lot of great programs out there that, again, I think mitigate the size factor. They're just terrific programs. I would say a few things to think about. from what I've heard from students that I've talked to, at times the feeling can be that by junior or senior year, in some ways you've almost surpassed what the program is able to teach you through the work you've already done and maybe your outside freelancing and internships. You know, there's only so many professors who are only expert in so many areas, there's only so many classes, that at a certain point you may just feel like, well, I've learned everything that they're able to teach me, and oh my gosh, I still have a year or two left. The other thing to recognize is the harshest reality of this debate, which is that oftentimes the smaller schools and smaller programs will have less resources to your advantage. It's less likely that they're going to have a dedicated building to journalism, a dedicated smart classroom, dedicated lab spaces, the programs and platforms and tools on the specific computers that will help you do the journalism that you need to do. There may be, and I stress may be, less funding to send you to some really cool journalism conferences or to do different fellowships or study abroad opportunities. Some of those things might be mitigated by the fact that there are fewer students, and so more can be bestowed upon the best ones, including if you want to rise up and be one of those students. But it's just things to think about. The biggest thing that I would stress is to make sure that you're not just talking about whether big school or small school is the right stage for you, but whether a program exists at all outside of a single professor or two. Because there's small schools and then there's micro schools, or literally almost invisible programs where they are patching them together from a variety of different disciplines and professors who come together every once in a while and teach classes that sort of add up to a journalism-ish whole. That to me is problematic because then there's really no one minding the store, and there's really not a lot of love being shown to journalism in any conscientious and consistent way. That'd be one last thing I'd throw out to you. All right, guys, thanks for checking out this video in the series. Please hit me up by email or share in the comments below any questions or feedback you have about your own personal search for the perfect journalism program or anything to do with journalism education in general. Definitely get back to you as soon as I can, or even share an answer publicly in a follow-up video. Thanks so much, guys. Take care.